Hi guys, I'm Kirsten from Psychic Babes. Today I'm welcoming Toni Nagi. She's a multifaceted creative professional known for her work as a filmmaker, a stand-up comedian, a writer, and a content creator. She's the founder of Cavalite Productions, where she has written, directed, edited, and acted in numerous videos that have amassed millions of views. Her background is a BA in philosophy from Sarah Lawrence College, and she also has a strong presence in the comedy scene, having won the Best New Talent Award at Broadway Comedy Club in New York City in 2017 and 2018. Her short films, such as Grey Story, have received various accolades, including recognition at the Best Short Films Festival. Besides her film and comedy work, she is an accomplished writer. I saw her live at Grape Fest, the comedy show, and I laughed my ass off. She has this unique ability to cover the most horrific things in such a beautiful, comedic, and thought-provoking fashion that I've rarely seen before. I stayed after the show to meet her, and she was so cute and so warm and so just loving to everybody that stood around to talk to her. And she took a photo with me, and then I'll never forget. I gave you a hug, and I felt like this bzzz, pass through my body, which is only happens really when people are really powerful individuals and in touch with their divine feminine. It usually really only happens with women. But so all I can say is she's a very powerful woman, and I'm honored to have her on my show. So welcome, Toni.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to hear that my hugs are electric.
Absolutely. So you have this unique ability to talk about these very serious matters and deliver in a way that is both hilarious and really makes you think about the way that our culture treats one another and the way that we treat ourselves. And how did this start with you?
The thinking about culture or the comedic approach to it?
Both.
Well, I think, some of us are born as children and some of us are born as observers or, I don't know, mini adults. I just did not relate to childhood very well. I felt outside of it. I mean, that's the best explanation. I felt like I was very aware of the limitations of my own intelligence, and there was a frustration to that. I wasn't one of those kids that relished in imagination and played a bunch of games and didn't want to grow up. I think I had trust issues with the adults that were around me. I was ready to grow up pretty quick. So, thinking about society, thinking about culture, I don't really remember my life without doing that. And I don't know why that is, except for perhaps, my parents were political people. They brought me to quote unquote sophisticated films. They weren't really sheltering me from what was happening in the world. And I grew up in a city, so I was observing the world in my own way. So I'm a Capricorn. I think that's also part of it.
Totally. Yeah, well, what philosophical themes and questions are you most interested in exploring through your art? Like, what brings you the most passion to talk about?
I mean, I think I'm always ultimately looking at the dance of self-reflection and our programming, our conditioning, our culture, and injustice. These are the things that I'm circling around over and over and over again. And I think I'm coming from my observations from the fundamental belief of taking radical responsibility for who we are. And with that effort of being fully responsible for who we are, I think we can develop that self-compassion that we need for others. Um, because when we can recognize our own programming, our own conditioning, our own trauma responses, the ways in which we act in an unconscious, quote unquote, way, the ways in which we're reactive, the ways in which we the things we do, the behavior patterns that create cycles of shame and guilt, all of these things that we judge others for, I think when we make peace within the self, then we will be able to interact with people in a way where we're A, judging them less, and B, taking them less personally, and C, coming at relationships with more neutrality. Like we'll be less charged. And I think that that is something that I feel really passionately about, the need to self-reflect and the need to touch all the darkest parts of your own shadow in order to allow your light to elevate you. like you must know the full rainbow kaleidoscope spectrum of your personality. And through that, I think we can be kinder to others.
And what does that look like for you? Like what do you do every day? What's your daily practice to working
My
towards?
daily practice, you have 7 hours to hear it. My daily practice is intense. Um, okay, so I'll tell you my daily practice just for shits and gigs, and then I'll give you an example of what this looks like. So I'm not just like speaking esoteric vagaries. Um, I wake up in the morning and I do just like thought practice before my consciousness fully is on this planet. So just telling myself I'm waking up in a timeline that serves my highest possible good, but also the highest possible good of the animals, the highest possible good for humanity, the highest possible good for the plants, just recognizing the interconnectedness of all things. And my highest good is connected to Donald Trump's highest good.
Mhm.
That's how I feel, so I actually have to want the best for everybody in order to call in the best for myself. And then I have gratitude for my daughter and her health and her immune system. And I have gratitude for myself and my health and my immune system. Like that feels like just crucial. If you don't have your health,
Mhm.
life's really difficult. And then I go through just like thinking about like what I want to choose in life. I want to choose relationships that are healthy. I want to choose abundance. I want to choose healing performance opportunities where I am providing a healing container for others to work on their own relationship to their own healing. I I go through all the things I quote unquote want and I try to choose them. And I try to be as, emotionally mature as possible and coming from a place of heart rather than like ego or vanity or pride or whatever. Although I think those things are always entwined and I'm not pretending that they don't exist or I don't have them because 100% I do. Then I get up out of bed and then I do these like exercises I learned at this Chinese Buddhist retreat I did. I did a 10-day silent meditation. So I do these like
You did
movement.
Vipassana?
No, it's a Chan Buddhist retreat. So it's like you have a mantra that you say and they're not fucking around. You're up from 4 a.m. till 10 at night and you are meditating your ass off, and they have like little sticks that they poke you with if they think you're daydreaming. Like these monks do not fuck around is all I can say.
That sounds awesome.
So I do the exercises I learned from the Chinese Buddhist Retreat Center. Then I do a meditation. Then I start my day. So it's like I have to give myself some time. And then at night, I do prostrations, like bringing my third eye to the ground and bow to the ground. I do that and I like humble myself and put good intentions. And then I say prayers for the animals and for people and all the shit. I pray for everybody and my family, etc. And then I do another meditation. And then I do have a shaking practice that I do. I mean, I have so many rituals and practices. I feel like it's it's actually cruel to keep going. So I'm just gonna leave it there. But those are like my main vibes.
By the way, the shaking practice, I saw one of your videos and since I've been doing that, I'm like, oh my gosh, because I have back pain constantly and I do healing stuff on other people. For some reason, I can like help others heal themselves, but like I can't like seem to get my back in order. But like since I've been doing the shaking thing, it's like, oh my God, my hips and like I've stored so much information in here and like when I like have just had sex with somebody and I didn't want to, and then I like tightened up, and then that got stored in there, and then I like, and then it like lower back. It's like, oh my gosh, when I fell in cheerleading and I hurt myself on the floor in front of the whole gym, oh, then I felt ashamed and embarrassed. And it's like all this, just doing that shaking, like unraveled all of this stuff that I was like, wow, okay, this is very, very interesting. So me and my daughter have been doing that like every day too, and she's noticed like the same thing. Yeah, she's remembering past life stuff, doing the shaking
That's
stuff.
fucking rad.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've been because I'm traveling right now and I'm like in a very small space that I'm sharing with two other people, like I can't do a movement practice in the same way. So and I have to perform every day and I just am one of those people I have to like come into my body before. So
Mhm.
I've been doing shaking every day and doing it every single day is like it is addressing a lot of chronic issues.
Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed
It's
that. Mhm.
hard to convince people to do something every day. I think it's honestly something that comes natural to me. So once that's that Capricorn thing again. Like I can get into ritual, I can get into daily stuff, but I do highly recommend if you're dealing with like chronic pain or any stagnation or like this, I've been trying to do this one thing, I just can't do it. I don't think there's any medicine that's quite like shaking. And unfortunately, I think, or fortunately or unfortunately, but doing it for 40 minutes or an hour really is the vibe.
Yeah, and it's tough too. It's like, oh my gosh, this is like you get so tired after doing it. But I'm a Virgo as well, so I'm all about routine. So I've now built this into my routine, so it's easy. And my daughter and I would do this thing called goddess dancing, where we just put on music and then we just feel the goddess, and then like we just dance around like for 45 minutes and just be silly. So we do that now. We've incorporated that to after our goddess dancing, and it's really fun.
Obsessed. Wait, how
Yeah,
old is she?
she's 8, and
Oh,
yeah. And I raise her in a lot of way. Like people have a problem with the way that I raise her. I allow her to speak up on TikTok and stuff because she has a lot to say, and I don't ever tell her, "Oh, that's wrong," or "You don't know what you're talking about because you're a child," because that was done to me. And so I always said, and turns out she actually knows a lot. She knows a lot of things, and she's very in touch with her past lives, and she's just very in touch with the galactic beings, with herself, with Pachamama, with, she's just very connected. And that's just naturally. So I feel like if we all listen to our kids a little bit more instead of going, oh, they're just children, they don't know what they're talking about, um, you know, because in schools they don't learn any of this stuff. Like where, in schools they learn how to just go, okay, okay, well, don't do that, and okay, we're supposed to do this, and we're supposed to do that, and I don't agree with that. So I just I do things very differently, but a lot of people have a lot of issues with it.
oh, I love it. It's funny. I'm doing the show that I'm doing right now is called Go to Your Womb.
Hmm.
And I'm performing it with my daughter who's 14. And a lot
Wow.
of what we're talking about is this themes of parenting and parenting our own inner child and parenting in reaction to how we were parenting. And, my daughter's character throughout the show, like she plays my mother, she plays my grandmother, she plays me. And it's, really she serves as the voice of reason and wisdom and reflection. She's like the foil of, but wait, da 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 da, like, are you like the questioning, the Jiminy Cricket kind of voice. And
I love that. Oh my
yeah,
gosh,
I feel like
I
you would
love
love this show.
Oh, I totally would. Yeah, I totally would. And it's funny, I also like I speak to her about things about like her body, and people are like, "Well, she's too young. She shouldn't have to know about those things." I'm like, "Well, she's going to figure it out some way. I'd rather she learn it from me the right way so she understands these things about our bodies and what is sacred and and what we should and shouldn't feel comfortable with showing to people, or however she feels about her body, and that's fine. And a lot of people have those, especially like I mean, my family's German. So in Germany, nudity is like not a big deal. But like in America, it's like, ooh, oh my gosh, no. But we'll show people getting raped and murdered and things like that. But like, oh no, the feminist body, the female body, like, no, we can't do that. So yeah, so I'm definitely different. It sounds like you parent a lot like I do. And I love that.
Yeah, no, it's funny this like I think often people critique the parenting where you're more open with your kid because there's this fear of taking their innocence.
Hmm.
But what I've noticed is I don't, force information. I offer information when there's questions
Yeah.
and I offer the information. And I notice with her, it's like when something's like not like when she's not ready to hear something, she just shuts, like she's just like, "Meh," she's like, whatever. And she'll literally just like leave. Like she has her own like protective mechanism in terms of like information and when she's ready to gather it. And so
Yep.
I just kind of trust that. So I'm like, if she's asking a question, I'm going to answer it. And like literally, there's been times where she's listening, and then she stops me, and then she's like, enough. And then I'm like, okay. And then she goes
Oh my God,
off.
seven's the same way. Is she a Gemini perchance?
She's a Cancer.
Okay. Yeah, like Seven's the same way. She's very much like, I got it. I got it. I understand. Thank you.
Yeah, and no more, no more.
Yeah, yeah, we're
So
done.
I
We're
don't, I
done.
mean, I think like sheltering your children too much can put them in situations where their innocence can get stolen in a much more like detrimental way versus, your mother sharing truth with her. I mean, I don't know. I'm not too concerned that I've ever like taken her. She's very innocent, even
Same.
though I'm like this, like, I'm in a penis costume, like this is a very innocent girl.
But I think that also that kind of takes away that that stigma. So it's like it's just like not a big deal for them. Then it's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Versus how culture does it.
I think openness is, I have this personal belief that lies don't exist. I think we communicate telepathically and all of the verbal stuff we do. I mean, there was an interesting quote. I think Timothy Leary said it. It's like, we invented language to lie.
Oh, wow.
Because there is so much telepathic communication that we're doing. And so when we speak lies, I don't believe anyone believes a lie. We
Yeah.
either choose to we choose to accept the lie because it's convenient, because it's comfortable, because it helps us avoid pain. If like you're with a partner and they're like, I didn't cheat, and you're like, okay, and they're lying to you, it's because you don't want to deal with the truth and you kind of are just like, I do not want this. So I'm going to just keep
Pretend
going.
I don't know.
Yeah, pretend I don't know. So I have this fundamental belief that lies don't exist, which is why I've never lied to my daughter because there's no point.
Yeah, I
And
love
so, even with like silly things like so I would make videos where I like smoked weed in my videos
that.
because I had this reason to at the time because like someone was like, hey, if you make weed videos, I'll promote them. And I was like, okay, why the fuck not? And so like, and then she was like, oh, if can I see your video? And I'll just be like, oh, you're not gonna really like it. It's a weed video. And then she'd be like, oh, okay. But so there was never this like, I never had to like sit her down and be like, sometimes mommy calms down with weed, like it just was something she saw or didn't see. And then I don't like put it out for her, but it's not like this is there's like people send
Yeah.
me drugs on the internet all the time. They send me mushrooms, they send me weed, and she like knows not to. She's like, I'm not opening my mom's mail because there could be weed or mushrooms in there because we're just kind of clear about it. Like I don't. She's not even like she's not like grasping for something, so I'm not hiding anything from her.
Yeah.
Nor do I like. I'm not like a habitual chronic user of anything. I feel like there is concern on my behalf. She's not unsafe. Um,
Totally.
so I don't know. I mean, like people could have a lot of opinions and thoughts on like the exposure, but I tend to think, we expose kids to alcohol constantly. I think that's an incredibly dangerous exposure.
I agree.
I've never drank in front of my kid because I don't drink. So
I don't drink either. Yeah.
yeah, so it's just, I mean, it's funny the hypocrisy of like what makes people uncomfortable and what they deem as like correct.
I know. It's like, okay, you can raise your child the way you want to. Let's let me do it the way that I want to do it. She's safe, and and she's the happiest child like in the world. So it's kind of like, like let's look at like what's going on here. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears a little bit. Like you've talked about, um, you're very involved about speaking about the political arena and the shit show going on there. What do you have to say about like the future, or what is your hope for the future of what's going to happen there?
I mean, I think the fundamental problem with the current political landscape is the attachment to the current political landscape as if it is the only choice. And as long as we have a system that is so intertwined with lobbyists and corporate interests and fundraising and super PACs and, like there the paradigm will continue because politicians are beholden to Wall Street. Politicians are beholden to their funders. They're not beholden to the citizens. So that is not a democracy. We've never lived in a democracy. Democracy has not been exemplified in the United States. I mean, I would argue we've never lived in democracy, just like
Okay.
communism is an illusion, so is democracy. So I think that dismantling a system that is so entwined with capitalism is incredibly scary for people. And there's a quote, I've made a video about this multiple times, but one of my favorite quotes is imagining the end of capitalism is harder than imagining the end of the world.
Wow. Not to me. I'm like,
Not to
let
me either, but that is kind of the cultural mythos that we are always kind of put against. So that is why I think the creativity is always under assault. Art is always under assault because it's when we have creative, imaginative thinking, we can think of different ways to self-organize, and we can think of different ways of having a system of I don't even want to say a power structure, because another fundamental belief I have is the problem with power structures, is the problem with hierarchies, is the problem with the consciousness and psychology that someone is better than someone else, someone is superior, someone, you know,
and a
needs to be.
for-profit system that is meant to help the people is not, in my eyes, is never going to work.
It's not.
No.
No, it's really not. So it's hard because I'm a philosophy person. I'm kind of like more of a and I think like the other thing that is complicated is that with every election, every single election that I've ever voted in, it's like, if you don't vote in this election for a Democrat, like this is the most important election ever. If
Mhm.
you have any progressive values or if you have any liberal values, like you must vote Democrat. And you're so bullied, like genuinely like progressive people or genuinely liberal people are bullied into voting Democrat because the alternative is like they're, like voting Republican, which,
Mhm.
as like a genuinely progressive person who like cares about, racial equality or
Mhm.
feminism and the rights of people with all sexualities and genders and all these things, it's like, how can you vote for a Republican? But at the same time, I think the Democratic option is equally as insidious. I mean, there's so much sexism and there's so much rape and there's so much like racism.
Pedophilia and
The
weird shit
Democratic
going on.
Party, it's
Mhm.
just more embedded. So one is like more obvious and one is like boiling under the surface. But I understand that, like, it looks, I mean, there are these optics of like, no, like your abortion rights are going to be taken away if you go this path. But this is why there is this like kind of bullying, and it's like turning everyone into a capitalist isn't a liberal political system, turning like saying like, oh, a woman is now, a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. It's like that woman isn't able to run her company with the values of like motherhood.
Yeah.
She runs her company like a dude
Yeah.
that began the company because that's what Wall Street demands. So there is almost like this homogenizing that happens with these power structures where everyone kind of becomes the same white man. And I'm not saying white man as if like I'm pointing the finger at actual white men. White man is a power structure,
Mhm.
right? Like whiteness is a construct, man is a construct. Like we all know that these are societal constructs. And so it's almost like anyone can play the role of white man if you get to that certain level of power, which is how like like Italians weren't white and then they were white, Irish people weren't white and they were white. Like sometimes people say like, oh, now Asian people are white because they are experiencing white privilege, and some people would argue that. And what is white privilege? White privilege is basically looking at how you can give, like that quote unquote race, right, slightly more privilege in order to divide from those that aren't quote unquote white, So all of these are constructs that are dependent on a power structure. And within that context and within that consciousness and within that psychology and within that spiritual framework, there is a trapping.
Yeah. What do you think about this one world religious government thing that people have been talking about? Like, do you think there's any truth to
I sometimes have to just kind of put out the not in my timeline,
that?
because there is a timeline where that happens,
Yeah.
sure, but
Oh,
that's not my timeline. I think that I've gone down many a rabbit hole. Have a PhD in quote unquote conspiracies, and you can get yourself to a point where you feel like you're in a psychosis, kind of, which isn't going to make you active. It isn't going to make you a better neighbor. It isn't going to make you a better parent. However, I also see when people are like, la, 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 like, I don't want to hear anything because it's painful. That's also its own psychosis. And so we have to have this choreography between understanding that all the information we're giving has an agenda and is a lie. Like all of our information is like through the lens of those in power and must be questioned. However, to completely ignore that information or not participate in it is like its own sense of privilege, right?
hmm.
That's like Western privilege or white privilege to a T. Is it's like, well, not, it upsets me, so I'm
Yeah.
not
So I don't want to
gonna.
hear about it. I don't want to
I
hear
don't want
about
to
it.
hear about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there, but like hearing about it, I'm also often like, well, I don't believe that's how it actually happened, but I'm still gonna hear about it. I'm still gonna be a part. It's like this. I'm just really interested in how we can dance between these of all extremes, right? Like, can you be a part of society and the conversations that's happening, and yet also question all the conversations that's happening? Because that is the vibration. It's like when I think about the type of quote unquote citizen of the earth I want to be, it's someone who's bringing a vibration of unconditional love. Like that is all I'm here to do ultimately. And in my effort to bring unconditional love, like that's going to be a messy journey. And when I see timelines like the one you're talking about, I'm just like, that's possible, but please no for me, thank you. The timeline of sustainability and, radical spiritual revolution and community and connection and nature and art, like there's that timeline too. I'm
Yeah.
not going to deny that shit's happening, but I'm gonna keep my eyes looking towards like what I want.
That's not the reality I'm creating. Yeah. That's
It's
what
not
it
the
is.
reality it's not the vibration I'm trying to put out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, what do you think as like a collective we can do to get around like the BlackRock and the Vanguard like controlling everything? Like how do we as a collective get around that?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, there is like an immense amount of research that we all must do as consumers.
Mm-hmm.
So clothes is a great one. Like thrift. As much
Mm-hmm.
as you can, like 90% of your clothes you should thrift. Sure, you
Totally.
should buy underwear, but you should
Mhm.
buy organic underwear. And like maybe if you see like a super cute shirt, like okay, but like where is it from? Like just what company? Just be so strict with yourself about how you spend your money. That's number one, what you're putting in your body, what you're eating. Like I think that, it takes time to be a responsible consumer because I think consumerism is like a big part of the problem, obviously, in the global consumer marketplace. But like that's like one thing we can do, but like I had to get on a plane to come here. Like I'm supporting genocide by getting on a plane. Like that sucks, like I use a cell phone. I'm supporting the raping of the Congo with my cell phone, but I can keep my cell phone for as long as I possibly can
Yeah,
until
without
it
buying new
falls
one, yeah.
apart. I don't need to update this shit every fucking year. It's just chipping away at these profits.
And not
Chipping away at
expecting
these
everything
profits.
to, but I think we've gotten so ingrained in like, oh, I want to get it tomorrow. So we like, so we then buy into like, oh, Amazon and put more money in that
Oh,
pocket.
yeah, no, no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
no Amazon. I mean,
yeah.
unless it's like an emergency, like
Right.
you
Yeah.
don't need it tomorrow.
No.
You can go to the person yourself, and there's a local pet store that you can go to. I mean, like I still don't think capitalism is the answer, but right now, I mean, that's at least what I try to do as much as I can. And then like kind of like there's another, thought I had like I spent so much money recently on this like trip and blah blah blah. And just like I was just feeling like, what am I doing? Like just all this realization of just the reality of like money spent in Western privilege and whatever. And then I'm like, oh, well, I can give money to a Palestinian family that's trying to escape. Like that's something I can do. And I can make a video sharing like, hey, can you also give money? And so it's like when we think about the actions that we do in our lives that are self-involved,
Mhm.
what can we do for others to offset it? It's like we need a carbon offset every decision we make. I'm not saying that we're not going to make self-involved decisions, but if you carbon offset your decisions, there is like a more like that flows more. It's like it's flowing into me, but it's flowing out of me. It's like that's what keeps coming up in the shaking that I do. It's just like giving love, like me processing my own shame and my own guilt, and then like helping like in that state of like shaking. Like how can I me processing my shame and guilt, I offer that to all those that have to process shame and guilt. And like me, I'm giving all the unconditional love I could possibly give. Just every day, just keep giving.
Yeah. It's
Give as
like
much as you take,
circulating.
right?
It's like circulating it versus like spending it, right? It's like circulating
Yeah.
the energy of, versus like it ends here. I love
Mhm.
that. I love that. Um, you know what? I always had this thought. It's like, in Switzerland, and my family used to go here every Christmas to Davos, Switzerland. And I always had this thought, like, why is Switzerland never involved in any of the wars and anything? And why are all these billionaires living there? And why is
The
CERN
banks.
there? Yeah, and like, oh, okay, so what's the deal there? Like, why? And then they have they have their whole Congress thing, and the FI, the Economic Forum thing. Like, how do we, how do we call that out? Like, how do we get that to stop? Because that's clearly like part of the biggest problem there,
Like the how do we
It's
wait,
like,
so what do you mean?
well, like just like with Switzerland, like I said, there's all these billionaires living there. The banks, they're there. Obviously, the money's there. There's a whole lot of like shit show stuff going on. They have the economic forum there every year where they take no notes about what they're talking about. Yet then somehow all these things start to happen and they predict it, and it's just a whole very weird stuff. Like, how do we get that to stop? Is like, do we rise up as a people and like, get out there on the streets? Like, what do you think?
It's like we have to stop caring about money in order to devalue the value of money. We have to stop caring about stuff in order to devalue the value of stuff.
Mm,
Right? It's like we all know probably Prada spends like $50 making a purse and then they're selling it for $5,000 because the brand Prada has value that we give the brand.
mm,
So it's the value of money is always in flux. We know this. That's what exchange rates are. That's what currency is. And so we collective, I mean, there is like, again, I have to just use the word dance. It's like there is a reality of like, oh, bills have to be paid. There are these things like, oh, I need heat, I need whatever. So the value of money for survival is one thing, but the value of money for excess is another. And the value of money in this way that objects will somehow fill a hole in your soul. I mean, I think this is what the father of marketing, Edward Bernays, understood. So, he's the nephew of Freud. I'm sure you know of him. And he understood that, wow, humans have this collective existential feeling of emptiness.
mm,
And it's a spiritual feeling of emptiness. And I'm not saying spiritual in just like the realm of organized religion. It's deeper than organized religion. It's like that deep questioning of why am I here? What is the point? And that mystery is so easily manipulated in us.
mhm,
And that is what these marketers are manipulating. That is what these or people in organized religion that are exploiting people are manipulating. This is what cult leaders are manipulating. This is what an abusive partner is manipulating within you, is this common confusion of the mystery of what is happening and why am I here? And so the more we again like self-reflect and address that, the less we are looking for objects to be the answer, the less we're looking for validation to be the answer, the less we are looking for TV to distract us, right? It's like, when do you want to be distracted because you don't want to deal with the mystery?
Also, the same with drugs. People search drugs because they
Want to
want
deal with
to,
the mystery, or they think they want to understand the mystery through drugs.
yeah.
Like it's like, I've taken mushrooms. Like, what
Yeah,
am
I
I
meant
doing?
different. I was talking about like different hardcore drugs, but yeah,
No, totally. But still, I've done all sorts of drugs. I've
totally.
done a bajillion drugs. But I think, like, oh, let's say Coke, right? Like when I was doing Coke or when I was drinking alcohol, I was trying to forget myself, like that was my objective. I was like, I was so uncomfortable with like my own inner monologue and my own like mystery and my own empty heart that I'm like, oh, the alcohol will fill it, or the Coke will fill it, or the ecstasy or whatever. But all those things can be a fun time. Like I think sometimes alcohol could be the elixir of the gods, you're just like connecting to someone, I'm in a great time. I've had some wonderful times on all sorts of things. So it's not one thing. It's just like how you're approaching the thing you're doing is what's the real thing to investigate.
I always say, like, when done in ritual fashion, like done in some kind of ritual way where it's like you're honoring yourself and the process, and as a collective group or by yourself, then it's okay. But when you start giving your power away to that substance, like tobacco or anything like that, or alcohol, then it becomes a problem where you've put it on a pedestal, right? And then you're down here now, like, oh, I need this to make me feel this way. So, I mean, because they did a study on centenarians, and people live to be 100 years old, and they looked at what they all had in common. This was the most important thing to me that really stuck out. It was like none of them had a program. Most of them smoked, like some of them drank, but none of them had a program that was going to kill them. They didn't have a program like, oh, I'm going to die if I do this, and they did it in ritual. That's what they said. They said, like, maybe a Sunday afternoon, like I'll have a cigarette and I'll roll my cigarette and have a little ritual and thank the earth for, it's like, wow. So, to me, that was very, very, very powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the way we think about what we're doing is incredibly impactful. So if you feel guilt and shame every time you smoke, like, yeah, that's gonna fuck your ass up. But if you're like, oh, I'm connecting to tobacco and Mother Earth and I'm grounding myself. But I also know some people who are incredibly unconscious who just live till they're 100. They
Yeah,
like eat shitty
totally.
fucking food and they drink whiskey and they smoke and I'm not like, wow, you're spiritually evolved. I'm just like, your level of lack of self-reflection really kept you going because like you're
Yeah, it
just
could go that way
so.
too. Absolutely. Because they don't even think about it. It's just an unconscious. It's just like, But I mean, for those of us who consciously think about what we're putting in our bodies, if we have a program where we're thinking, because this is a lot of the work that I do with psychedelics, is like deprogramming the mind, letting go of like religious programming, of societal programming that says this is bad, and these programs running. Then once we delete those programs or make them less important, then it's it's easier for the body to process those things, because then the brain isn't running the show. It's like the brain is less important. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, because the brain is your conditioning.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, why do you think feminism has been given such a bad rap?
I think twofold. You know, uh, the obvious answer is like, oh, it's a threat to the patriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the obvious answer. But I also think there is a way in that feminism is reinforcing gender.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm not sure if like the bad rap is like that. But I mean, it's an interesting question because I remember someone once, what did they say? It was a guy, it was a man telling me that gender was a construct, and I was like very irritated. But then I was like, well, why, what am I irritated by? Because it's not like I actively disagreed with him. It was like
Mhm.
him telling it to me.
Yeah.
And it's like if I were to say to someone who wasn't white, I'm like, well, race is a construct, they'd be like, go
Right,
fuck
right.
yourself. Because my experience as a woman is not a construct. I can agree that gender is a construct, but what I have gone through as a woman is specific. And what someone who's gone through that is not white is specific. And I have no right to tell them, that like,
Yeah,
but it's all in your head. It's just like,
yeah.
no, no. So it's like our physical experience of our identities, of our race, of our gender, of our sexuality is real. However, it is also all an illusion because we are all, imbuing identity onto identity, right? Like what is femininity? That is like society has decided what femininity is, even though the female body is specific. So it's not, I think this is like these philosophical quandaries that actually cannot be answered because they lay in the realm of mystery.
Mm.
Is I always kind of bristle when someone is like, this is the answer. And I'm like, is it?
Yeah,
Is it the answer? Because there is no real answer. I think that's the thing that people are so uncomfortable about is all of our knowledge is just a snake eating its tail. It's a question within a question within a question within a question. And the importance isn't your conclusion. The importance is that you are curious
and
and
talking about it.
asking questions. Yeah.
Yeah, because so many people are afraid to talk about that, especially like because the feminism word is such a triggering word to a lot of women, and it's like I'm not triggered by it at all because like yes, I'm a feminist and I don't see it the way that you may see it. If you see it as a bad thing, okay, that's on you. Like I'm proud of being a female and I'm proud of that and I honor my body. And if we as a collective would come together as women and hold each other up versus tearing each other down and come together in that way, I think a lot of people would understand that more. Maybe not the patriarchy, but definitely, the divine
Well,
feminine.
women uphold the patriarchy just as much as men.
Right, right.
It's a equal opportunity
Okay.
system of thought.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
which is, part of the parasitical nature of it.
Do you think we're moving away from that though?
I think misogyny and patriarchy is very deeply ingrained. I think it is really, the roots are almost down to the earth's core. And part of that healing is being hyper honest with yourself and myself about our own misogyny, about our own relationship to patriarchy, because it begins with you have to detangle it in the mind. Like I remember in college I was like wanting to take a philosophy course and someone was like, oh, you should study with blah blah chick, I can't remember her name,
Mm.
Joan. And I was like, Joan, a woman? I was like, wait, what? Why did I think that? But that was my first reaction.
Uh,
And then I also remember it was like around that time when remember Portia Del Rossi? Is that
uh-huh.
her name?
Yes,
She
yes.
was in like Ally McBeal, like so
Uh-huh.
pretty, this very pretty
Yeah.
blonde. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember she came out
Mm-hmm.
as a lesbian. And my first thought was like, oh, what a waste. I was like,
Wow.
what? Why did I think that? Because I'm like, but you're so pretty, men would like you. As if like men like
Wow.
her
I
should know.
love that. I love that though, that you have radical responsibility where you go, why did I think that? Like
Yeah,
that's
but that was
important.
honestly, I was like, but you're so hot. Like why are you gonna be a lesbian? So many guys would jerk off to you. I'm like, wait, what? What? And like that's how embedded the male gaze is in my brain. So I don't know. I think these things are really deep. The hatred of women is very deep. And so we just have to kind of keep like picking at our own scab. So we notice every time we do it, and we notice every time we experience it, and we notice every time we see it.
And hopefully, as females in our soul groups and in our friendships circles, we hold each other accountable when we say things that aren't in alignment. Okay, where'd that come from? You know, because
Yeah, with kindness and love.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally with kindness and love. Yes, absolutely. But I know, like in my circle of friends, like we definitely do that, and it's also um, something that I really think is important for, how do I say this, for females to come together in like a setting where we can be honest and have groups like and talk together and do things like that, because you're right, we uphold the patriarchy. The only way we stop doing that is by coming together and working out our own traumas, and sometimes doing that together is very healing as well, because you feel more comfortable around somebody who's kind of already done it, not on a I'm higher than you level, but like, oh, okay, this is possible. Because some people think, oh no, this isn't possible. And like I've already given up on like my parents. Like it's like, oh, forget it. Like I'm not even gonna go there, to try to explain this stuff to them, because they're just like blah blah blah. They're like that way. But it's funny when my daughter speaks to them about this stuff, they like listen all of a sudden. I'm just like, okay, that's very interesting.
Well, because I mean, I go back to shame and guilt. People don't like to be wrong, and they don't like to be embarrassed, and they don't like for something to be pointed out where they were potentially ignorant or naive. So anytime we have these conversations, it's like that's why I kind of started off talking about the importance of neutrality, is that if you kind of have like a stank
Mm-hmm.
in the way you're trying to express a thought, even if your thought is correct, it's going to make someone defensive. And it's very difficult to learn from a place of being defensive. And so, your daughter speaking to her grandparents, they're going to be less defensive. And
Yeah.
that's a better space to learn from. And I think that's why it's so important for us to just like continue to like do the work of regulating our own nervous systems, because when we have hard conversations, if you make someone defensive, they're just going to reject and they're going to double down, because the emotion I think people have the hardest time dealing with is shame and is guilt.
Yeah.
And so if they are in that headspace, they will shut you out and they will make you the enemy in order to make themselves the victim, in order to protect themselves.
Yep. And I also think, like, this kind of off topic, but programs like AA and NA and things like that, they don't work because you're constantly saying like, you're identifying with, I am an alcoholic, I am an addict. Like in the beginning, yes, it's important to take radical responsibility for the choices that you've made. But let's say 5 years down the road, because I have a friend who's in recovery, and they're like, I'm so sick of this. Like I don't align with being an addict anymore. And I'm like, so then don't be. And like, but I have to go into this thing and speak every day about saying like, hi, my name's so and so, and I'm an addict. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. That doesn't align, And it just,
Yeah, it's interesting because it goes back to this idea of identity, as if identity is fixed versus identity is an ever evolving mystery. I mean, I just kind of keep going back right now to this concept of mystery, and that is just something that makes people fundamentally uncomfortable.
yeah,
And so when we have a fixed identity, then people, I think, feel safe or contained or bound. And even if being bound is uncomfortable, at least you don't have any options of what to do with your body. So
mhm,
there is like a comfort in not having any options. It's like we sometimes choose to put ourselves in a prison in order not to deal with the prison of choice, right? And the prison of freedom,
totally.
which comes with its own complexity. It's the avoidance of pain, because you think
Yes.
you're gonna avoid pain, and I hate to tell you, it's like pain is around
And
every corner.
can't avoid pain, and it's only going to get worse, because I have this theory that energy, all all illness is energy stuck somewhere in the body, which then becomes malignant. And then, like, the more dense energy you add onto it, then it clumps up and then it becomes a raging, like illness or pain. And so it's like if you deal with it initially and you feel it and you feel the pain and it's okay to feel it, then you process through it and let it go. And then it's no longer there anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a, like that's kind of where a lot of new age, physical embodiment stuff is looking at. And it's interesting because on the one hand, I've seen this, like I've seen so many like miraculous things happen. And the other hand, it's like we were saying with like, I'm like, but also like my back has hurt for 20 years. So, it is kind of funny. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's like the body keeps the score, and every once in a while, I'm like, can you stop keeping
Yeah.
score? It's
Yeah.
actually really fucking rude. I
Yeah.
like do this for you every
I'm
fucking day.
over
Like,
this.
shut the
I'm,
fuck up. Yeah, I've
yeah.
done it. I've learned. Like, I need a fucking break. You're a
Yeah.
bitch. Like, you need to stop.
Yeah. Can you just give me a
Like,
fucking
literally,
break for just like a day or two? Can we just like fucking make an agreement and then we'll get back to
yeah,
doing
can
it?
you fuck off and stop keeping score of my trauma? Like, you're kind of a cunt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I love
learn to
it.
forgive. Yeah. So I'm just like, oh, yes. And I like, of course, I completely agree with you, but sometimes I'm like, ugh.
Do you do retreats or anything like that with like other women and like doing some your somatic healing and stuff like that? Do you offer anything like
Yeah, I
that?
do. I do. I mean, I have done more day retreats. I really want to do plan like a more like immersive thing, but I've done a lot of daytime retreats and workshops and classes. And I mean, I love doing that. I love doing that work.
Yeah,
So if
I
you
do
want to
too.
hire me to do that work, anybody in the world, you can come and hire me. You will not come out the same, that I promise.
Absolutely. Well, I was actually thinking because I'm doing a psychedelic. I work with DMT and changa. I make my own changa. It's similar to ayahuasca, but it's smoked. It's grandmother medicine, and I was guided to make it. But it lasts about 2 hours. But I work with that, and then I work with sassafras, which is a heart opener the first night. And
Mhm.
then, like, I was thinking, oh my gosh, like it would just be so amazing to have you there, like the next day to doing this shaking, or even before, like
Oh,
doing this shaking, like. Oh my
yes.
gosh, that would be like phenomenal. And then all of your other amazing techniques that I know that you have, just because I'm just by watching you, I could see your, your abilities, and I'm just like, wow, that would be phenomenal. So that's definitely something that we should discuss in the future because that
Oh,
would.
yeah, I would love to do that because one of the things I think is most important is how do we integrate? How do we integrate the healing? How do we integrate the wisdom? How do we integrate the knowledge? How do we integrate the work? Because sometimes I feel as if like if when I don't integrate, it can just bleh, So you
Yeah.
can know something, but that doesn't mean you've embodied it. And so really kind of bringing it into the body is something I'm very into.
Integration is the most important thing. I had a client who, against my better judgment, went to an ayahuasca center. I was like, I've heard not so good things about, but he went anyway and came back thinking he was Jesus Christ, like the actual
Yeah.
reincarnation of Jesus Christ, and lost his kids. And I told him, I'm like, okay, no, Christ, yes, you are, yes, and Christ consciousness. It's not you are
Yeah.
him, right? And then finally he came around, but like, and now he has his kids back. But it was just like, wow, man, like that. Wow,
Spiritual psychosis
they
is real.
didn't do any integration. It was because they didn't explain to him, like, no, buddy, no, 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 no. Bring it back a notch. This isn't what this means. And so integration to me is like that's the most important thing in this stuff. Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So what do you have coming up, and where can people find you?
I have a website, toninaj.com, TONINAGY.com. And I have three shows that I'm touring. One is called Go to Your Womb, which we talked about. The other one is called Grape Culture, which you saw, a tragic comedy about rape culture, but it's really funny. And that I do with my friend and partner, Sarah Buckner. And then I have a solo show that I perform called Men Come Inside of Me.
want to see that. Oh my God, I want to see that.
Yeah, so that's a personal fave. Men Come Inside of Me is about, all the men, quote unquote, who've come inside of me, but mostly the man inside of me and how I identify two men through my understanding of my own inner dude, because I'm a dude inside. My inner child is a 47-year-old man, or maybe he's like 52. I don't know. He's a man. I and and then I do stand-up comedy and I kind of tour that around. So things are usually on my website and my Instagram at toninaj.com, or at Toni Nagi is my Instagram. Yeah. TONINAGY.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was so grateful. I'm so grateful to have you on and to see you again. And definitely we'll be in touch. And
Yes.
enjoy the rest of your trip in Scotland and all of your amazing performances. I know you're going to be fabulous like you always are. So,
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Have a wonderful day.
you too. Bye, love.
Bye.